Is Damian Lillard finally on the move? We got prime time in Eugene, and Brenna's going to be there. Welcome to the rebranded podcast, formerly known as the Sports by Northwest podcast, now called, wait for it, the Oregonian Sports podcast. Ooh, threw you off right there. Anyway, we changed the name of it, and we're going to change the name of some of our other podcasts, sort of kind of under an umbrella of the Oregonian Sports podcast, which, quite frankly, makes more sense to me because I don't think many people knew what Sports by Northwest meant. But here we are with our first official Aaron and Brenna, the Oregonian Sports podcast. And we have a lot to talk about. Brenna, how are you?
You know,
let's start there.
Just making it through. It could potentially be a really crazy next 24 to 48 hours, or it could just be a crazy next 24 to 48 hours. We'll see. So there you go.
Yeah. Brenna Greene of KOIN 6, of course. I'm Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian. And we got Damian Lillard Scuttlebutt. We got prime time in Colorado visiting Eugene. Oregon State opening Pac-12 play at Washington State in a very losable game, I think, just because it's up there and Washington State can put up points. So, yeah, there's a lot of fun things maybe going on in our market. What else? You got preps tonight.
Yeah. What else, he says?
Football tonight.
What else?
You know what? I miss preps football.
Yeah.
I do.
I mean,
I like when I was covering preps, I wanted to cover the Ducks and cover the Blazers and blah, 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 blah. And now that I've done all that in the NFL and I've been fortunate to cover Super Bowls and Final Fours and national championship games, I look at my son's playing high school football. And I'm like, I wouldn't mind, the last few years of my career covering some preps again, where you approach a kid, he's so excited that you want to talk to him, and his parents are all excited, and it's just preps, and it's not all this political nonsense and just the craziness that goes along with college sports, and just the way fans conduct themselves on social media as if they're on the team, but at the same time they'll piss on a former player or a soon-to-be former player like it's nothing and sell them out for a draft pick. Anyway, let's start this thing with the latest Lillard chatter. A lot of stuff being floated around. Could Dame end up in Miami? Don't know. Could he end up somewhere else? Don't know. Blazers have been allegedly talking to different teams, trying to find another deal outside of Miami. Haven't really gotten very far as I know, or I've been told. Now people are saying that maybe they're circling back to Miami. There's this rumored deal out there involving Nurkic going to Phoenix for Ayton, and maybe that involves Dame going to Miami. Who knows at this point? But let's okay. Do you have anything to say about that?
I think I said last night on TV, the man that has been in the news without any news, like there's nobody who's been in the news without any news so much than Damian Lillard in the past 2 months. Yeah, I mean, I've been told maybe something is coming, but I don't have anything more than that. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You said before we got on here, there isn't the Wojs, there isn't the Shams, there isn't, Chris Haynes talking about this. I know Brian Windhorst did report that the Blazers are trying to, make something happen before training camp, which I think all of us would be very pleased by. Let's see. We've got we've got 10 days until we're supposed to interview Damian Lillard. So the clock is a ticking, okay? Because Media Day is October 2nd, and let me tell you, that is going to be an experience if Damian Lillard is in the building. So yeah, 10 days, baby. We're on a clock. Let's see. I mean, I definitely take everything with Damian with a grain of salt at this point. Not even because of Damian, but just because of how helter-skelter this whole summer has been. So we shall see what happens.
So yeah, the only thing firm I've been told by a couple of people is that they definitely believe it's going to go down before camp, which is good. So wherever it ends up, and that we won't have to deal with that, and Dame won't have to deal with that, and the Blazers won't have to continue posturing in that area. But I think the most interesting thing right now is the whole idea of them coming away with Ayton in this situation. And again, we don't know what all could be involved. If it's a deal with Lillard going to Miami and Miami sending something to Phoenix as well, and then sending some stuff to Portland, then this would fall in line with the whole idea of like, okay, Portland finally sitting down with Miami and figuring out what's workable for both sides, and then trying to bring in another team that might have something else Portland wants, since Portland clearly doesn't want Hero, which is the best player that would be available from Miami. And so if Ayton ends up being the centerpiece of a deal, and then you still get maybe one of the young players from Miami, and you don't get 4 first-round picks, maybe you only get 2, and maybe a swap. I don't know. Does that make sense for Portland? I find Hero doesn't fit positionally, but it, like other teams have done, sometimes you're redundant, especially when you're rebuilding. It doesn't matter. Like, it just, what their lineup is this upcoming year, I don't think matters. They're going to not be very good. But Ayton fits positionally, but is he really that much better than Nurkic? To me, there's evidence that no, especially when he's making 40 plus million and Nurkic is making 17. And my other problem with Ayton would be, he didn't demonstrate maximum effort with a title on the line while playing with Chris Paul, Booker, and Durant. So now you're going to get maximum effort out of the guy playing with Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe. It just, that would worry me. At the same time, maybe he's going to mature and a fresh start, get some rolling and going, and he and Grant would be sort of the veterans on this team. So maybe that role sparks him to be more engaged. I don't know. It just seems weird that if he's the centerpiece of all this, how does that necessarily make sense other than positional fit? What do you think?
The face I made when you said he's going to be a veteran on this team and like one of the leaders. I don't. I don't think that's if we had video right now, you would see that my face went into full on frown face.
It's the frown. Just think frowny emoji,
yes.
which I use a lot sometimes. Yeah. The frowny emoji. That was what.
I don't know how I feel about you.
People grow up, though. People grow up.
I don't know how I feel about DeAndre Ayton being thrust into a leadership role.
Actually, I did correct something. He makes 30 plus million, not 40. Sorry.
I feel very conflicted. But I mean, I will say this. It's really hard to find quality big men in the NBA. And yes, he has his ups and downs, but he still has his moments of brilliance that are just really, really incredible. And, I mean, this, it's not quite similar, but I mean, we were talking Zion Williamson a few months ago, those two both have had their ups and downs in the NBA for sure. What have I taken Zion? Yes. Because it's really hard to find good big men in the NBA. So I think at the end of the day, you have to take it. You have to take a flyer on him because this is the thing that everybody has been saying that you want. You want a big man. That has been made very, very evidently clear. So, like, beggars can't be choosers. I feel like if you're getting what you want, yes, there's going to be ups and downs in this situation, but I do think that DeAndre is at the end of the day, at least it gives you some sort of vision for this team. Ironically, I just realized this. Remember the first game of the season last year against Phoenix? Wasn't it DeAndre at the free throw line when Damian went up to him and was
Damian was talking to him
and got him to miss the free throws? Oh, what a flashback. And then, funny.
So, I don't know. I would be intrigued by the entire thing, I guess, because, he's a number one overall pick. Like you said, he's had his moments, but there's just so many red flags there. So Yeah, I mean, I just as you can tell, I'm a lost for words. I'm not moved by it. I think anything they do that gets Dame to Miami, I'm cool with because I think that should be the priority. But you want to come away with something obviously good. To me, I'd rather have as many picks as possible because then you can always trade those picks for players down the line, or you just have those picks, and who knows, they might become lottery picks after. Here's a stat. Here's a thing for you. I can only think of one superstar guard that's been the catalyst for a championship team at 35 or older, and that was Jordan, who I believe turned 35 when they won their last championship. Curry was 34, I think, when they won last year. And I can't think of another one. So Miami is going to have two guards over 30. I mean, if Butler stays, they're going to have two guards over 35 in 2 years. They're going to decline. Like guards especially, they're going to decline. There's going to be opportunity for some lottery picks there. We've talked about this before. So I would just rather have as many picks as possible and then just go out and then try and get one or two of the young players and then go out and try and use those picks to acquire really, really what I want. I just don't know if DeAndre Ayton's really, really what I want. And the other thing is, I know people love Scoot and believe in his potential. He's not walking into the NBA and elevating this team into the playoffs. Shaden, I love Shaden. I love Ant. I think they all have great potential. But you may be looking a few years out before this team is really viable. And then by then, Ayton's going to be a free agent. And if he's any good, now you're paying Ayton $50 million a year.
And that's assuming you can re-sign him.
I just can't imagine. Yeah. Yeah, but you can offer them 5 years, whereas other people can offer them as many years. You offer more money. So, but yeah, you're right. Or maybe you just move them. You could just move them, I guess. But I don't know. It just seems weird to me that this would be the route that they would go. But at the same time, I'm not against it. And if it means moving Dame to Miami, great. If you get a couple picks out of it, great. Get this over with. So you'll be looking at a starting lineup of, I think right now it would be, they just play Shaden at the 3 and goes Scoot, Ant, Shaden, Grant, Ayton. How many games they win? Oh
boy. It's an 82-game season. We'll go 32.
Wow. I was thinking more like 27 because I'm factoring the tank at the end.
I think 32 and 27 is pretty close. I think we're pretty much at the same range.
Right. Yeah, no, we're close. I see, there's what a team would do if fully healthy and played the entire season. And then there's, you got to factor in injuries. And then you got to factor in if they're going to tank. And so that's why I'm at 27, because the tank would be coming. We know they like the tank in Portland. So post All-Star break, it's over. We're out of it. Let's suck even more so we can get
and they don't have to worry about that all-star player thing where you can't rest multiple all-stars in one night, because let's be frank,
right,
there's not multiple all-stars on that roster. There might not be one.
No,
we'll see. I mean, if that were to happen that way, obviously.
Yeah, true. All right, so that's what things are with that. I'm weary of the entire thing. I just want it to be over with. All right, so let's move on to something more exciting. Oregon, Colorado, prime time, coming to Autzen Stadium. Brenna will be there. I will be on my couch with snacks, watching. However, Brenna, I'm not as excited about this game as I was.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Hunter being out stinks. It really stinks. When you've got a guy that...
Doesn't it?
Yeah, when you got a guy making an impact on both sides of the ball, it's like, oh my god. That's just, it's a thing that so very rarely happens in college football, and so it does make a big impact when somebody is out like him. So that's unfortunate. I do feel like Oregon should walk away pretty easily in this one. But, we'll see. I mean, I generally was not impressed with Colorado last week against Colorado State. I mean, Colorado State had, I believe, 16 penalties and still almost went to overtime. That's crazy.
Right.
Like you should be murdering them. And also, I've kind of monitored Colorado State from afar because I covered Jay Norvell when he was at Nevada. And I know that coaching staff well, so it's just like I'm just gonna it's just kind of one of those things that you kind of keep tabs on intrinsically in your brain, kind of without even knowing, because things are on your timeline, things like that. Colorado State has not been good. I mean, Wazoo mollywopped them, okay? Like, Wazoo killed them. And then Colorado at home had to go to overtime? Like, ugh. So there's a reason why that line is 21 points in Vegas right now. But regardless, I'm still excited. It's a big moment. It's and you only get a few big moments each year in college football. So enjoy it, take it in. But yeah, I do feel pretty firmly that Oregon is gonna handle this. They have a much stronger line on both sides of the ball. Their offensive line has been, for all the talk about how they were losing so much, they've been incredible this year, except for the false start penalties. That has not been incredible, gentlemen. But other than that, they've been great. So, and then, their defensive line, like I remember looking at, just who was on their defensive line before Oregon Media Day and just being like, name. Like, I got a good D line, and Colorado State's offensive line is pretty patchwork. So, I don't think that they've gone up as against as good of a defensive line as Oregon has. So, right. I think this one gets lost in the trenches pretty easily. So,
I like sometimes to look at the betting lines of games, and like with the Texas Tech thing, like I came out of that the week before that thing, man, Oregon should take care of this Texas Tech team, no problem. And then the line came out at 7.5, and then it went down to 6. So people were betting Texas Tech, which, raised red flags to me, like, oh, wait, the people who gamble for a living and set these lines are like, yeah, this game could be pretty close. And of course it was, and Oregon did cover. But there's been so much hype, leading up to this game, for weeks, because the speculation after Colorado won, especially beating Nebraska, that, wow, the showdown with Oregon, that's going to be the first real test. Both teams can be 3-0 and ranked. Game day might be there, but they're not. And it could be, a pretty special game. And then Colorado goes out and doesn't play that well against Colorado State, and they lose Travis Hunter. And then, boom, the line comes out, and it's 21. And that's Las Vegas telling you, the world, you can hype this thing up all you want. You can make it about this showdown and make it this big thing. And on Talking Ducks, Harrington and Jordan were talking about how this is a big moment for the Ducks to go out there on a national stage and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, come on. Oregon, if Oregon's not above needing this type of win to propel the program in any kind of direction when they're 21-point favorites, like, come on. To me, that's just not even a thing. I pushed back against it a little bit, but I didn't go full Fentress, since we try and keep things a little light on Talking Ducks. But to me, this is a blowout. Well, I shouldn't say blowout. I think it's going to be a lot like the UCLA game last year.
Yeah.
It's going to be competitive, but clearly Oregon's better, and Oregon pushes them away and keeps them away. You said it yourself, the difference in the line. Colorado averages 55 yards rushing per game at 1.7 per carry. They give up 242 per game. So the quarterback play from Colorado is great.
And not faced a trio of running backs like Oregon has.
Right. So yeah, we're just going to throw
just heavy hitter after heavy hitter
with that line. Yeah, and then Oregon's quarterback is just as good, if not better, than Shedeur. Definitely better in terms of he's more polished. He's played in bigger games. So everything points to just Oregon. Just I think Shedeur will do enough to make it interesting and keep it compelling for a little bit, maybe. But they can't stop the run, and they're not going to stop Bo Nix, who is at his best playing off of the run, which most mobile quarterbacks are. And that offensive line is going to completely demoralize and wear down the front seven for Colorado. You don't have your best playmaker in Travis Hunter. And although Shedeur Sanders might be the best playground QB in America when he gets out of the pocket, he's going to face the best athletes by far that he's faced all season who are going to be able to shut down his lanes quicker and contain him easier and keep him in the pocket more often, or smack him in the face when he does leave the pocket. That it's just like it's gonna spiral to the point where it's obvious they can't run, they're behind, they're trying to pass, and Oregon's just dialing up all these combinations of blitzes, and they're using spies and they're containing and doing all these things to just make life miserable for him. And then it's going to be evident that Oregon's just superior, and they're going to roll, and they might cover. I think I picked 42-27, but it could be 52-27 easily.
I think they'll be pretty motivated to come out and make a statement as well. You know, I mean, I understand what they are saying in terms of this is a big moment on national TV for them. And I do think, I mean, it's a 12:30 game. I know.
Been on national. I thought it got moved.
No.
I thought it got moved.
12:30. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's at 12:30. I know because I'm leaving at 7:30 in the morning tomorrow after working until like 12:30 or 1 a.m. It's going to be a great time. But yeah, a 12:30 national game, and Oregon does not get a lot of opportunities to play a 12:30 national game where everybody on the East Coast can tune in and see what's up. So, in that sort of situation, I do think it's a big deal for them to be able to make a statement to people around the country that, hey, we are legit this year, and like we can compete. So in terms of that, you know, them coming out and as I discussed earlier, mollywhopping Colorado, that's gonna be a big statement, a big moment for them. That's what they need to do. That's if I'm a team, if I'm them, I'm not just going for a win. I'm going for demolishing, because that is going to send a message nationally that, hey, more people need to be paying attention to us. So I do think it's a big game. I just think it's because of where Colorado is and because of Travis and because of their lines. I just feel like this is a game where it's not really that big in terms of the actual competition. It's more big in terms of the statement that can be made. So, yeah.
Right.
Hopefully, I mean, yeah. Hopefully I'm right, not just talking out of my butt right now. So there you go.
Okay, here's the thing that's funny about this thing to me. So we come into the season. Obviously, Colorado made a lot of changes to the roster, and they were 1-11 last year. It's a completely different team. The over-under in Vegas for wins was 3.5. They already have 3. And then, like, because they won a couple games, things shifted to all this talk about how great they could be and could they challenge for the conference title and blah, blah, blah. And all I did personally was I had them 4 to 5 wins maybe coming in, and then after they beat TCU, I bumped them to 6. I had Nebraska and Colorado State as possible wins anyway, so I still stayed around 6. And I'm still at 6 because they had games coming up. They were going to be against far better teams that obviously I thought could beat them. But the idea that this is like a statement game, like if Oregon blows them out, that means anything more than the fact that they blew out a still just okay team with some good skill guys and a quarterback that beat some teams with inferior athletes, as opposed to them actually defeating this Colorado juggernaut that's a legit Pac-12 title contender. They're not. No, they shouldn't be considered that, even at 3-0. So anyway, I don't know. It's the narratives on Colorado, how they've flipped and changed and all that kind of stuff is just kind of bizarre to me. But I think we're going to see this week that, you know, you can be as good as you want on the perimeter and that quarterback, but man, if your lines on both sides are just getting pummeled. It's
not bizarre. People love Deion, and they're just diving all in. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I love me some Deion Sanders. He's one of my favorite athletes of all time by far. But yeah, I was gonna say, but you know, you're not paid to go on national television and sing his praises like Stephen A. Smith is. So there you go. That's you know, that's just what it is. Yeah. So. Okay, so. What else is going on this weekend, Brian?
Just a little battle up on the Palouse, Oregon State at WSU. We've got a, you know, This game is always one that's anytime WSU plays either Oregon State or Oregon, it's always an interesting game for me personally because I covered Wazoo for 4 years, so know a lot of people
That's
up
right.
there. It's starting to dwindle out, but I still got like one more year of knowing people on that team, and then it's done probably for me. But I made a good run. So yeah, Oregon State at WSU, the Tupac game of the century going on here. I mean it's a huge game. It's a huge game, and it's on Fox. It's on national television again, 4:00. So not as good of a time slot, but still that's pretty good. It's 7:00 on the East Coast, pretty decent. Yeah, I think this one's gonna be. I think this one's gonna come down to the wire. I do. So, because that's what Oregon State and Wazoo do. That's how it goes. And I mean, the last Oregon State game I saw up at Wazoo was decided literally on the second to last play of the game. I think they might have kicked off and maybe OSU had maybe like two more plays or something like that. So. Those two teams always generally seem to have good competitive games against each other. So I'm excited to see that. I was supposed to see Wazoo at Oregon State last year. That wasn't as good of a game. And I popped my tire on the way to the game. So that was lovely. So yeah, I got to hang out on the side of the road near Woodburn for hours and didn't get to go to the game, which sucked. But yeah, I think this one's going to be pretty close. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be much more fun than Oregon versus Colorado, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
Who you got? Did you pick?
I'm rattling it in my brain right now.
What?
I'm going to go Oregon State. I'm going to go Oregon
okay.
State. I'm going to go Oregon State. I think they just have a lot. They have a lot of experience. Now, Wazoo has a lot of experience as well, so I'll give them that. But I'm going to go Oregon State. They have the better quarterback of the two, even though Cam Ward's great. Don't kill me, Cam Ward's dad. We're friends. We're friendly. But I think that, in terms of the running back, quarterback duo, Oregon State has the clearly superior duo, and then obviously Oregon State's defense is real good. Oregon State's line, as we've discussed multiple times, is real good. I'm gonna go Beavers.
Okay.
You going Wazoo?
So no, I'm going Beavers too. Yeah. It would be. I'll be very disappointed if they lose to a team outside of the Big Four, which they are a part of the Big Four. Oregon,
Utah?
USC, Utah, Oregon
UW.
State. Am I missing somebody? UW, sorry, Big Five. Yeah, they lose outside of that group. I'll be very disappointed in them. So, because I really, I don't think it's going to happen, but I really, really want the not Civil War to have
meeting
title game implications. The winner's in the Pac-12 title game.
That'd be very fun.
That. All right. Off the field stuff was going on involving OSU and WSU. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I've been semi off, but if something happens on and getting my daughter off to college, so I didn't pay attention.
Okay.
Go.
Oregon State and Wazoo had a joint Zoom yesterday, which with their presidents and athletic directors, which has to be a first. That presidents and ADs of two teams that are playing each other that week are holding a press conference together. I don't think that's ever happened in college football. I feel pretty confident in saying that one.
Right.
Don't need to do a lot of research for that. They had their own coordinated Zoom background. Very impressive. We had a gray Zoom background with Oregon State and Wazoo logos. It looked very clean. Kudos to whoever made that. Great job. It was an hour-long press conference, which, that's a long time. But, there was a lot of people on there. I mean, there's a lot of national people on there. It was every time it was heavy hitter after heavy hitter in terms of who was asking questions on there. Not a lot of like factual stuff. Basically, they're waiting for a preliminary injunction hearing to be set by the judge so that they can have their next steps against the conference. So that is, that's they're kind of waiting on that. Kirk Schultz, WSU's president, said that they're hopeful to have some sort of clarity in 30 days. I'm not sure if I buy that, but we can keep hoping, because I mean, if you don't even have an injunction hearing set up, like that's a lot to ask to have some sort of clarity in terms of controlling the conferences, what happens to the conference's assets. So, they did say, Pat Chun said in the press conference that they are going to play Oregon State's fight song at the 18-minute mark before the game starts, and they're going to encourage all their fans to cheer or to applaud along, to clap along or whatever, to Oregon State's fight song. Which, somebody did raise the point to me. They actually did do that. They did that before the Apple Cup, in 2018, 2019. No, it was 28. It had to be 2018. In 2018, because the UW's band's bus had a huge accident on the way over, and so the band couldn't make it. And I mean, thankfully everyone was okay, but it was like iffy. It was pretty crazy. So yeah. So they have done something like this before, but it's been a while. They said that the mascots are going to interact a bunch more. Woohoo! But it's just kind of an interesting. It's definitely an interesting. It's a situation that I don't think anyone's ever seen in college football, where it's like, outside of this game, these two teams are genuinely rooting for each other, and that just doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So it's just. I asked in the press conference, I was like, is this bizarre? This is just so different than anything I've ever seen in college football. But, then again, conference realignment is definitely different than anything we've ever seen in college football up to this point. So that makes some sense. But overall, it was, I would say, 25 to 30, we'll go 30 to 35% of the call was actually good information, and then the other 65 to 70 was them extolling their PR spin, which they are allowed to do and they should do. So but you got some good stuff out of it. They also said, both schools said that in terms of scheduling for here on out, they cannot make decisions through. Pat Chun said, we cannot make decisions through an emotional lens. We have to make decisions through a business lens, aka playing UW and playing Oregon is financially beneficial. And I know that there are some OSU fans who say we should never play Oregon again, and there's some WSU fans that we should never play UW again. But guess what, guys? As we've learned through everything in this in the last few months, right. This is what talks.
It's all about the Benjamins, right?
Benjamins, baby, and that's what's going to happen here. So, I thought it was all kind of a lot of stuff about. I thought, Scott Barnes, and it was mostly Scott Barnes, who was very, very upset, and I understood why when Oregon left the conference. That totally makes sense. But I knew that at some point that was going to pass, because, and was like, we'll see if we play them again. We'll see. I was like, you're going to play them again. I'm sorry. This is, come on. And he was like, regionality, that's what Scott Barnes said, is really important to our athletes. So, that's something we have to take into account as well. So it's like, okay, well, yeah, there's a school right down the road. So it definitely seems like those games are going to end up continuing, which, like I said, there are some fans who don't like that, but tough cookies.
The problem is how competitive are they going to be?
I know. Well,
Oregon State could get completely stripped clean this offseason. Coaches, players. You know, if I'm a player and we're going to be playing in the Mountain West and I signed up to be on a good pack,
it certainly seems
team,
more and more, by the way, that they are going to try to use that 2-year grace period and figure something out in the next 2 years, and that there is only going to be 2 members of that. That seems like the way that they are leaning. They wouldn't tip their hand, but that's kind of what I got from that phone call, that they are hoping that they're going to have that 2-year grace period where there's only going to be 2 members of the conference, and then they're going to try to figure out what happens from there. Yeah,
what to do,
which that's a scheduling mess. But anyways,
too. Are they going to play each other 10 times?
You still have non-con. You still have the non-con schedule that's already set up.
But I know they can, but non-con is usually dried up after the first few weeks. I mean, people have holes in the schedule. I mean, I guess you can go out and figure it out.
I will say, the Big Ten doesn't let. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do about this. Right now, the Big Ten doesn't let teams play FCS teams. So does that change some Pac-12 team schedules if they decide to, say, hey, you can't do this anymore? But I could,
right.
But I could also,
season,
exactly, yeah. But I could, but then you could see the Big Ten coming in and scheduling earlier games, so then they have, then they have flexibility later on in the season too. You can see that as well. But gotcha. I could also easily see the Big Ten saying, "Look, these are already on your schedule. We understand that these were made when you guys were not a member of our conference, so we're not going to blow up your schedule now." So. And there's other sports other than football. I know that's crazy, but
who does Oregon play next year?
I know they play Texas Tech. I think that's the first game of the season.
They're hosting them, obviously.
In Austin, which will be very fun. Unless I screwed that up and it's the next year, but I'm assuming you're looking it up right now. So
I'm trying, but. I swear, man. Yahoo. Sometimes I end up on Yahoo and it just jacks me around. 2024 Oregon schedule, teacher schedules. Okay, yeah, Texas. They at Hawaii. We're covering that.
I know you are.
They got Idaho. What? They got Boise? Wait a minute. Hawaii.
Yeah, they play
Idaho,
week 0 game. I think
Texas Tech and Boise.
I think they play a week 0 game next year. Yeah, I was wrong about Texas Tech. Might be.
So maybe you buy out Idaho and play Oregon State. Whatever. All right.
Yeah, I was wrong about Texas Tech. About the timing of that game. It's the September 7th, which will be their 3rd game of the season.
That's wild. Anyway, okay. So we're done with sports.
We're over it.
Let's move on to you and Lindsay Schnell last week went up to Seattle to see Beyonce. I ended up not going with my daughter, a lot of different reasons. One being that I didn't like the set list. I was disappointed when I looked at the set list. I didn't see enough hits that I knew. I don't like that. So I decided I didn't necessarily want to go. My daughter kind of wanted to go, but she didn't really want to go through the whole, enduring the whole trip of it all. So we just bailed on it, and I gave her some money for shopping instead. She preparing to go to college. So anyway, you went, though, and I know you and Lindsay are huge Bay fans.
Well, it was my first time seeing her in concert, and I was like, you know what? I've got to do this at least once in my life. I've got to see her. Like, it's just one of those things. You were correct on the set list. There's a lot of stuff from Renaissance, but there's also a lot of stuff I love from Renaissance. So I wasn't like super not into it. There were a few songs I was like, I don't know this one. Sorry, B. Sorry. She opened with ballads. She had like,
I saw
3 or 4 ballads to open. I wasn't into it.
Weird. I can't. I don't.
Weird way to start it.
Unless you're a balladeer, Okay, so anyway, I didn't go, but I did some research. I went online and people, it's it's just so amazing how times have changed from when I was younger. But people are posting entire concerts from all sorts of different angles on YouTube. So you can just go watch the concert from floor seats, from 300 level, from 200 level. Staging beautiful. But I started watching, like, oh, I'm going to check it out and see if I want to go see it live. And she starts out with ballads. I'm thinking to myself, who does that? If I'm going, you're all pumped. You're going to Beyonce. You spent $500 on a ticket. You're ready to party and jam. And she comes out and she's singing a ballad. Explain to me what was going on, Brenna.
Did I grab Beyonce?
Did you get a press pass and go backstage and say, yo, girl, can you talk about the opening drive?
Yeah, the opening drive. Yeah, I was not. I did not look up the set list because I wanted to just go in blind because I knew I was going to go. So I was like, well, whatever. But yeah, the ballads thing was weird.
Was it 2
3.
or 3? Was it a couple? It was a couple. 3 straight ballads. And were they ballads you knew? One wasn't Halo, right? That's her most popular ballad, isn't it? See, I'm just glad I didn't go. I just would have been pissed. And that's coming from an old school fan. Like, I like the hits. I like Cuff It. Cuff It to me is a top 10 Beyonce song ever. And yeah. And the new album it's fine, but I want to hear Deja Vu. I want to hear Irreplaceable. I want to hear stuff that I know that resonates. And my daughter was like, but it's the Renaissance tour. I get it, but you want to do a lot of stuff from your new album, but you should never neglect. She did like 30 songs, didn't she?
Something like that, yeah.
Formation
was great. Anyway. Formation was awesome. That was one of my favorite moments in the concert. Yeah. Like when like the ding, when that hits, everyone goes feral. It's amazing. I love it.
Right.
Like one of the greatest opening, like, because it's just so recognizable. No other songs start like that.
Right.
So that was great. Formation, by the way, the only song she sang off of Lemonade. So,
right.
And I love Lemonade.
Exactly. See, that's weird.
So
to me.
I was like, man, you can't, God, no, nothing. You can't sing anything else.
It didn't seem like it was a very. It didn't seem like it was a very fan-friendly show in terms of making sure you got a lot of recognizable hits. You have to be a deep.
The other thing that was not, I would say, fan-friendly is that, I applaud somebody who wants to do all these costume changes because that's a lot of work and a lot of people and it's a lot. However, the breaks between, the amount of breaks between, that sort of stuff, it was a lot. Like, there was a lot of time where Beyonce was not on the stage. And, like, I enjoyed some of the things they kind of did in the meantime while she was, changing. Yeah. But there was also some stuff where I was like, I paid to see her, not this like random video, okay? And there's some cool. They did like a cool thing with Lace Twins, which I really enjoyed. That was cool. They did like a cool thing with, I think it was her backup singers, where they got to sing a song, which I thought was actually really dope and really cool of her to do. But there was a lot of there was a lot of like, all right, are we gonna see Beyonce in the next few minutes? Because I'm waiting, okay? So those were like my 2 biggest critiques. I didn't like I guess 3. I didn't like the ballads. I didn't like the amount of wait time between some sets. Like I said, costumes are great. That's awesome. But we should not be having. It really felt like there was like 8 costume changes with like significant time where she was not on the stage. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that really actually benefits your fans as much as it's just you trying to show off that you got new costumes every night. Sorry. That is the reality of it. Somebody in the Beehive is gonna find me and I'm gonna get absolutely murdered on Twitter. I'll have I'll have the Miami Heat fans coming at me a few months ago. Now it's my turn for the Beehive. I'm not sure which one's worse. So,
The other thing too, though, if keeping to think about is that how old is she now?
Yeah, and that's very true. You know what? You want to know my favorite part of the show?
So there could be a break. The
exactly.
break also,
and I get that. Blue coming up on stage and dancing.
Blue Ivy.
Like, that place went insane. I'd never seen anything really, like, I mean, I'd seen videos of Blue dancing before, but I'd never seen the place, like, absolutely lose it like it did there. So that was really, that was really cool. And she was a baller. I liked it a lot. She was kind of grandstanding on the stage afterwards, and I was like, yeah, get yours, girlfriend. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, that was really cool. I mean, there's obviously, like you mentioned, the screen was awesome. Like the background screen that they had, that like there's like a circular like roll away part of the screen where you could it was really cool. And I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, I'm so glad I went and saw Beyonce. Like, so glad. Yeah. Checked it off the list. And we'll see what the next album holds, but it was very fun. And yeah, I think that
if she was in Portland, I definitely would have gone. If the set list,
unfortunately, she ain't ever coming to Portland again.
Yeah, why would she? If the set lists were more to my liking, I probably would, because I was kind of gearing up to go, but I just thought, I'm gonna be bored. Not bored, because it's gonna be a good show, but I expect like Janet. So obviously I'm a much bigger Janet fan than I am a Beyonce fan, but Janet played like virtually every hit she's ever had when she came to Portland. Like, it was crazy. And some of them were shortened, but any chart hit she ever had, she played. It was phenomenal. I was like, how is this woman, because she's 50 something, how is she doing this all the way through all
but
of her
Janet doesn't really have a new album to promote, so
want.
You got to think about that as well.
No, she does. Well, I thought she just had an album come out.
There you go. I don't know about it.
But even still, when you put out a new album, because you can promote your album, but still make sure you hit your best chart stuff. And I just felt like Beyonce didn't do that. Anyway, whatever. I'm not trying to criticize Bey. She needs to do what she needs to do, and I'm sure her hardcore fans, know those songs better than I do.
Yeah. So
that's who she's playing for, not the middle-aged guy who just wants her hits that he knows from the radio. Anyway, all right. Anything else we need to talk about? Because we need to get this podcast up as soon as possible before it becomes obsolete and Dame's
before
traded.
Damian gets traded and we're all SOL.
Oh my god! Maybe if that happens, I'll call you and we'll hop on for 5 minutes and do a quick reaction.
Sure, why not?
And paste it in.
Okay.
So we'll see. All right, that's it for the Oregonian Sports Podcast. Thanks for listening. Big weekend ahead. Dame trade, maybe. Prime time in Colorado visits the Oregon Ducks, and of course, Oregon State going to Pullman. We'll be back early next week, hopefully, to recap all the madness right here on the Oregonian Sports Podcast. Thanks for listening.